I'm gonna start on the lead again. So new environment, new situation, I always take a step back. Just because I was getting a good result in that environment in the indoor area, doesn't mean I'm gonna get the same response here straight away. So I need to always take a step back in a new environment. Over time, what you'll find is each new environment, you do this in that time period between starting and starting at that phase, say on a leash, and going to the off-leash part will get shorter and shorter. And that's when you know you're starting to move in the right direction. So I've gone into a new environment. First thing I always do whenever I go into a new environment is I let the dog have a little bit of a sniff around, and that just means that once again I'm utilizing a remote collar. I just want to make sure the dog is comfortable in the environment first, and that's always key with these e-collars is go into the environment, let the dog have a sniff around, let him get accustomed to the environment so that when you start utilizing that e-collar, he doesn't all of a sudden think it's coming from, say, the tree standing next to him. So I'm letting him have a bit of a sniff. I'm not going to let him dictate where we're going though, so as I'm going along, I'm not just going to let him pull me wherever he wants. I'm just going to kind of stay within kind of dictate where we're going, but give him a little bit more freedom on the lead. If I want to go this way, I'll pull him along, but if he wants to go that way, I'm not going to go with him. And that's a top tip for guys with young puppies, right? Is when you have a young pup, what a lot of people do wrong is they take the dog along and they let it go say hello to everybody. And what they're actually doing is they're teaching the dog that it's okay to pull into the lead to get access to what they want. So just a little change there can drastically change how easy it is going to be to train your dog. Is taking your dog out, go into a new environment. When he sees a person and he wants to go up and say hello, is actually go the opposite direction. So it seems like you're being antisocial, but understanding what socialization actually is. And socialization is teaching the dog what's expected around different stimuli. It's not about letting the dog go and say hello to everything. It's actually about teaching the dog what you actually want from it. Cool, so Teddy's accustomed, he's eating grass. I can tell he's kind of, he's not too worried about the environment. So I'm gonna carry on. So I'm gonna start on the lead again. So new environment, new situation, I always take a step back. Just because I was getting a good result in that environment in the indoor area, doesn't mean I'm gonna get the same response here straight away. So I need to always take a step back in a new environment. Over time, what you'll find is each new environment, you do this in that time period between starting and starting at that phase, say on a leash, and going to the off-leash part will get shorter and shorter. And that's when you know you're starting to move in the right direction. So if I give you an example, say it might take me 5 minutes to tune the dog in, then I go the next day, it might take me 3, 2, 1, and then eventually I get out of the car and the dog's perfectly tuned in. I now know the dog understands what's expected in every different environment. And it takes a little while for the dog to start to generalize that. So be patient with the dog. Don't expect the dog to get it straight away. All right. So I'm gonna kind of start my training. So I'm gonna let him get distracted. Here, stim on, good. Start at my here, starting on that lead again, refocusing him. Here. Here, so the level is going up. So this is definitely common in new environments. So in the indoor environment, I started on about a 4. Out here, I'm starting on about a 26. So because the environment's changed and there's a lot more distraction, the dog needs more persuasion, okay? So the e-collar needs the volume needs to go up in order to break through to the dog because there's more noise. So it's important you're very slow, you're slow and careful about this process, just so that you don't once again let the dog accidentally buzz the dog at the wrong time and you have that negative experience. Here, oh. So right there, I didn't dial the collar down fast enough. So I went down from a 26 to a 14. I should have probably gone down to about a 6, just started all over again. I wasn't paying enough attention and I got the level wrong and the dog had an adverse effect. So because the dogs had gave me a bit of a squeak and a funny response, that tells me once, like I said, the level was wrong. So here I was working on a 26, working perfectly fine. I cut the level in half. I went over there, it was a different situation. I should have known to dial the collar right back down from my experience. However, I made a mistake. So since I've made a mistake, what I do now is I let the dog disengage completely. So the dog's gone trying to play with the stick. That's actually perfect. I might just engage with the dog a wee bit and just let the dog kind of tune out, have a good experience. I might use a little bit of rewards. Teddy. Teddy. And I just want to kind of perk the dog back up. So if you make a little error like that, it's not the end of the world. Teddy. Teddy. Yes, good boy. It's not the end of the world if you make a little error like that. It's just knowing how to come back from it. Teddy. Yes. And that's why I always have treats on me, as it's my go-to. So if I make a little error, I go back to a little bit of reward-based training, yes, and just re-engage the dog there, rebuild that, make sure that bond between me and the dog's nice and strong, and then I go back to my e-collar training. Once again, I'm gonna find my level again, my perception level, go right back down, probably start on about a 3 and work my way back up. So let's try that again. Here, yes, good boy. Working on about a 4 there. Here, yes. And I'll slowly fade those treats out. So you can see, because I've brought rewards out, he's become a lot more focused again, but I want to get him used to listening not just because of the rewards. And that's the whole point of this e-collar training, is to transition him off the treats. Here, yes. Notice how I move my arm when I bring the dog in. So the reason I do that is because it stops the dog. So watch this again. So what I'm doing is when the dog comes into me, here, I move my arm back. The reason I've done that is because it means the lead doesn't go underneath the dog. So I'll do it without doing that and you can see the difference. Come on. Here. So see how the dog stood over the lead there? So he's kind of got his legs over there, and if say he comes this way or he walks over the lead, what's going to happen is it's going to get tangled up. So I'm going to get inconsistent repetition. So I'm going to have to stop and start all the time. So by that little top trick there of moving my arm back there, see, I've still got control, but the lead's not slack. Whereas if it's here, it's slack and the dog can walk over it. And then, like I said, the dog will get tangled up. So whenever you're using a long line or a leash, is just kind of adjusting, is being aware of how you're holding the leash in the long line so that you can have more effective training. And I'll show you some tips with the long line in a later video. Here, yes. So he's definitely re-engaged. He's looking a lot confident, looking nice and confident. He's definitely kind of got over his little mishap before. So I'm feeling quite good about that. Here, yes, good boy. So we've got to be really careful here because he's got a lot of freedom, so there's a lot of space. So I need to be careful about keeping my eye on him and staying close to that lead just in case I need to grab it. So he's pretty tuned in. I'm feeling pretty good about that. This is probably the end of the first session for today with Teddy. Whenever you finish the session, you always want to finish on a good note. So we had a really good session. He's learned a lot about engagement. He's learned a lot about the remote collar and what the stimulation means. We had one little mishap there, which we overcome. So now I know what happens when I go into a new environment is he actually starts really high, then he drops straight away on the collar. So that's a bit of feedback for me moving forward with training the dog. And that's feedback I'll give the owner. So if this dog's here for board and train, I'll be giving the owner that feedback of, hey, when you go into a new environment, you're gonna find the dog's gonna start on a level 30 and drop down to a level 5 after about 5 minutes. That's the feedback I can give them so they don't make the errors. Because if you're trying to go at e-collar training on your own, you can see how easy it is to make an error, and if you do make that error, you need to know how to overcome that. So that's the information I'll be giving the owner. Over time, I'll slowly work my way through my program and my step-by-step process in order to condition the collar, and then from there we'll get to the last phase, which is the proofing phase. We do have all of this content in a course that we've created, so feel free to check it out. It'll be in the link in the description below, which will show you step-by-step exactly how to train your dog using the remote collar effectively for real-life results. So that's one of our training sessions with Teddy, and we'll see you in the next video.